All right, we are working on worksheet 43 in our packet, and it is about similar polygons. So I'm going to go ahead and get in here a little tighter. We've done some lessons on these, but we're now going to go ahead and jump in some worksheets. What I need you to see is we are not finding a missing piece. We are stating if they are similar, but you need to prove it first. So I'm going to put in the notes here, show proportions. So if you have four sides, you should have show four proportions. So proportions and or angle measures. Can you please add that into your directions? Show proportions and or angle measures. There are two ways to show, well, there's several ways to show polygons are similar, but they have to have proportional sides. Okay, so I'm going to put on here proportional sides, and they have to have congruent angle measures. So the sides have to be proportionate, the angles have to be congruent. So those are the two big things. And we're talking about corresponding sides have to be proportional, corresponding angles have to be congruent. So nothing new, we're just using what we know. So they've given us all four sides of both these rectangles. We're going to focus on number one here. So 10 goes over 15. So I'm going from the first one to the second one. I know all four angles are congruent. Do you see that? So the angles, congruent angles, yeah, check. Now let's check our sides. 10 to 15 is the same as 14 to 21. We're going to have to find out. And then we have another 10 to 15. So that would be the same as the first, and another 14 to 21. So you can either reduce your fractions or divide it out in your calculator. If I reduce them, these divide by 5, so I get 2/3, and these divide by 7, so I get 2/3, which is the same as 0.7 or 0.6 repeating. Do you guys agree? So yes, I would say these are similar. So I'm put my similar sign or write the word similar, and I am happy to go on. Okay, now look at number 2. I've got some information here. I know it's a little hard to see. This angle 40 is in there, and this angle 130 is right there. So can you mark those two angles? Because I don't think they did a very good job in this worksheet. So 40 is this angle, 130 is this angle. Now, if you look at the sides, you have 7 over 21, so 7 to 21, and then 5 over 15. And you can see you're going to get those same ratios, 7 to 21. So last proportion we know, so we know that the 5 and 15s are going to be the same. And if you reduce all these, you get 1/3 for each one. Okay, so a lot of us would say these are similar, but I do have an issue with the angles. Okay, now you have to go stretch way back. We have parallel lines cut by a transversal. Remember that idea? These two angles are called same side interior or consecutive interior, and they should add up to 180. So if this is 130, this angle is 50. Now do the same thing over here. Parallel lines, remember these markings show they're parallel. That's how I know it's a parallelogram. Cut by a transversal, if that's 40, then this angle is 140. So I do have a problem. These angles are corresponding, but they're not the same. So angles are not congruent, so these are not similar. And a lot of us would miss that because we would look at just the sides and say it's proportional. If you want to get into more detail, these are those alternate interior angles. This would be 140, or these add up. This would be 130 and 50. So you can see that the angles don't match up. And that's a big mistake. So be careful on problems like that where the sides look good, but the angles don't. Now I'm not going to do all of number 5 for you, but can you see that number 5 is flipped? Do you see that? And so you can see that these two angles match these two, and these two angles match these two. So this is a matter of checking your sides. So I should see, are your 4 proportions equal? That's what you're checking there, because there are congruent angles. That's a check. Now we need to check the proportions. Okay, so I want to jump to the back and show you a couple things off of there. So all of these on the front are state if they're similar. And you have two more like that on the back. Okay? And so I can tell you right now, these all have congruent angles without even having to do anything because they're marked congruent angles. So again, you have to check the sides. So put your little proportions here. You need to check those. Same thing here. All four angles are right. You can see that this has been taken and it's been spun. So make sure you match up the long side on this one with the long side on this one. So again, your angles are congruent. Congruent angles, that's a check. You need to do your four proportions. Okay, so that's just a reminder there. Now go down to the bottom. And we've been doing this. The difference is they have extra work or extra numbers. So the polygons are similar. We know they're similar. We're just finding X. So if you look here, they give me more information on this triangle than I need. So you need to make sure you match it up. So I need to find X. So the 40 over X is one of the proportions I have to use. Do I want to use the 35 or the 25? Which one should I use, guys? 35 or 25?
35.
I'm going to use that 35 because it matches with the 14. It's the longer side of the triangle with the longer side. So I'm going to say that equals 35 over 14. So I don't need the 25. And then how do you solve this proportion? You cross multiply. So I'm going to take 40 times 14 and set that equal to 35 times X. All right, so take your 40 times 14. Everyone's got the calculator. It's 560. Do you agree with that? Equals 35x. So then it's 35 times x. So I'm going to divide both sides by 35. Whoops. Okay, I got 16. Does anybody agree with that? Well, I hope I agree with that. Okay, so let's pick one more. Jump to number 16. 16 sort of all kinds of spun around and crazy. There's no angle marking, so it makes it a little bit harder. But these two sides are congruent. Okay, so let's see if we can match that up. These are the shorter sides. So I'm going to say that this angle right here goes with this angle. Does anybody agree with me? Like it's spun. So honestly, I hate to say this, these two are congruent without doing the proportion. Wouldn't these two be congruent? Just because 30 equals 30, 18 equals 18. But we wouldn't always know that. So here's what I want you to see. I'm going to take the x over the 30. I'm really using this line and this line. And that would equal this 21 paired with the 35. So it would equal, oh, I went little, let me flip-flop that, guys. Because I've been pretty consistent using the first triangle. Let me flip-flop that just to be consistent. Okay, so normally I use this. So I'm going to use the 30, and that's going to go with the spun around X. It's the same thing. I just have been consistently using the first triangle. Now, if you flip-flopped it and you went X over 30 and then 21 over 35, that's fine. But I've been pretty consistent using first figure to second, and then cross multiply and solve. So just be careful when you have extra information that you're pairing up the right sides. All right, so the rest of this, you're going to go ahead and work on it.